Let's go.
One check now. Okay, go.
Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Life Masters. And today in the studio, she's back to Ever Talk TV, Lori Harder. Yay!
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too.
This is awesome.
You do so much. You're a podcaster. What happened?
You don't even have to talk. It just talks for you.
I was like, that's my voice.
Why did that?
I was on a roll, Auntie. Like, oh my God.
Play it again.
Right? That's why you did it.
Here we go.
Go for it when you're ready.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Life Masters. I'm Tanya Memi. So today in the studio we have Lori Harder. She is back to the Ever Talk TV studios. I'm so excited. This time you're on Life Masters.
I'm so excited.
Me too. So I hunted you down on Instagram and then our mutual friend Michelle Sorrell referred you. So great to have you here. Now you do like everything. You're a podcaster. Your podcast is Earn Your Happy. Amazing. You have like
Thank you.
tons and tons and tons of followers and listeners. And you're also into the fitness world, health world. You've got, you're an author, right there, your book, A Tribe Called Bliss. And we were talking about that earlier, the journey
Yes.
that was for you.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. But what I want to know is, because you're on Life Masters,
Yes.
how did all of this begin for you? Because I know it was a whole journey
Oh man.
of just how you got to where you are today.
How long is the show? Okay, let's see.
I know,
Let's
right?
see
We
how
only have
fast
20
we can do
minutes.
this.
Oh.
So I'm from a really small town
Yes.
in Upper Michigan. Most people don't even know that Upper Michigan exists.
Right.
And for me, I grew up in a household that always struggled with their weight. I heard my whole life that we had bad genetics. Like that was just like the family mantra. We have bad genetics. You're going to be fat. Like that word was used all the time.
Yeah.
And because everyone was heavy, everyone was overweight. So for me in my teenage years, my sister had started, she was about 4 years older than me, and she had started working out when she was a teenager, so I was watching her work out.
Yeah.
And I decided to join her. Well, there was some different things along the way that I didn't even realize I had. I was a really anxious kid. I just would get really nervous. I was pretty shy. And I started working out with her and just noticed that on the days I would work out, I felt better. But I didn't, it's like I was correlating it in my head, but didn't understand what was actually happening.
With all the endorphins,
Yes.
or whatever else that means to
Yes.
you. Yeah.
And so when I was 14 years old, because I was also in a really restrictive religion, I was only allowed to hang out with people in my religion, and it was a really small congregation.
Okay.
So
in Upper Michigan.
in Upper Michigan. So like your environment goes from small to tiny. So it was really like the only perspectives I was getting.
What kind?
was,
What religion?
I was Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I was, the only perspectives I was getting were from my family and from the church that I was in.
Yeah, of course.
So when I was 14, I ended up going to a friend's house who, since I could only hang out with people in that religion, she was in a congregation like 3 hours away from me. And my parents were like, okay, we're gonna drive you. Since it's so far, you can stay the week. So this was the very first time in my life that I got there, and it was like 7 o'clock at night, and I'm like, okay, so when is snack time? Like, when do we get the ice cream and snacks? And
Right.
she's like, we don't do that. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, for real, where are the snacks? This was I
It
would
was a
have like,
habit, right?
I would sit with 3 bowls of ice cream, for real. Or chips and then ice cream, and this was our nightly routine. We watch TV together and we eat all night long, like a slow grazing. And so I stay a week there, and no snacks at night. She offered me an apple. I was appalled. So I was like, that is diet
And
food.
you're 14 at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
So very different family, right? And my eyes are starting to open. They eat 3 square meals a day, but great food. I go home, and I had been trying to lose weight for years, and I wasn't able to do it, even with all the working out. I go home and I lost 5 pounds. Like, my clothes were super loose, and I'm like, I didn't even think about it. How did this happen? Well, of course, I started thinking, how did this happen? I wasn't snacking all the time. My habits were different.
You started educating yourself and learning more too, right?
Like, maybe it's not my genetics. It was the first month that I was
Right.
like, it's not my genetics. And
Yeah.
for me at 14, that was one of the biggest eye-openers, is maybe these beliefs that I'm surrounded in, it's actually my environment. So that's really where a lot of what we do now just has come from, is your environment is stronger than your willpower. because if you want to change, you have to sometimes, well, not
Change your
sometimes,
environment.
at all times you have to change your environment.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that also means the people in your environment, because the people pretty much make up your environment.
So true. So
So-
true. And the habits that you create you bring on their habits too.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
And that was the time, so because I was transforming my life and myself, I was like, oh my God, I could do this for other people. And I was
Yeah.
homeschooled through high school, so I had all those stories in my head of like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. So I was like, what can I do? And I was like, well, I know how to transform my own body. So let's see if I can do this for other people. So in my mid-20s, I ended up doing personal training. I opened a gym. I started doing fitness competitions because back then the dream was, if I want to do fitness, what's the big dream? And
Yes,
it was like
the Miss Fitness, Miss USA
exactly.
Fitness.
That was it.
Yeah.
So it was like
Cover
either
Sports
compete,
Illustrated.
covers, or be Jillian Michaels. Like those were my three.
Yes, exactly.
So I wanted to be any of those things. So I just went for it, and that was a really long journey for me in and of itself. A lot of girls who went for it, like, if they were competing, they did well the first year. And for me,
Yeah.
I didn't do well the first 3 years. So it wasn't until the third year, and some things mentally had shifted for me, that I had started winning competitions. And
What was it that shifted mentally for you?
so the first 3 years, I never even let myself think of winning, because I was like, it was about me getting over my fear of being in front of people. I was having really bad panic attacks again. And just being in front of people was like making my anxiety come back. So after like 3 years, I actually allowed myself to start thinking and visualizing myself winning.
Nice.
And also, I was teaching people how to go on stage. So back in my studio, people were like, you compete, can you help me with my stage presence?
Yes.
So the more that I helped people, the more I was learning. So sometimes when we teach, that's how we really ingrain it into ourselves. Like they say, if you really want to learn something, learn it, but then teach it. So then you're learning it like really
Even
ingraining
more.
it. It was the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like,
Oh, I love this.
And
so
as I
that
teach
was
the
the,
same
that was
thing.
the shift. It was a mind shift. It
Yeah.
was you saying to yourself and allowing yourself to envision you actually winning.
yes,
So you obviously believe in manifestation.
absolutely.
Ah,
Yes.
so I
All of
know
that.
right, all of that, and so
Yes.
much more. Now I know that every April you put on a massive women's event.
Yep.
You do like different, what kind of activities? How would you describe one of your women's events that you put on well, April's the big one, and then you have small ones kind of throughout
Yes.
the year as well.
So that one, it's very much like a self-development, empowerment, connection event. And I speak, and then I have speakers who come in, but they're doing a lot of work on their own. So they'll be doing a lot of, meditation, visualization, journaling, connection. So after they maybe answer some questions in the workbook, they're going to now go connect with people. Like I literally force them to connect. But we laugh about it and we joke about it. Like,
Yeah.
why is this the hardest thing, is actually connecting and sharing ourselves and being vulnerable. So I take a good couple hours just to create a safe enough space where they feel they can connect, and where they understand why no vulnerability means no real connection.
Do you find that different ages have a different effect? Like when it comes to connection, do you find that millennials now, they say, have a harder time to connect than people in like my generation? Is that true, or are you finding that?
I think it's just as hard, but I think the problem is wearing a different mask. Like it's just in a different form, because
Yeah.
I do think it's just as hard, because what we do like in our generation is we can like isolate ourselves or tell ourselves a story, or we can do the same things, like tell ourselves that everybody already has their friends, or that we're a burden, or whatever that is. And it's really easy once you have your life,
Of
set
course.
up,
Yeah.
to stay in that and to isolate even more, or stick with the things that which we know that if we don't change our environment some way,
Right.
that we're not going to
Exactly.
change. So, yeah.
So I know that you have a very, very interesting journey with your incredible husband, Chris.
Yes.
Who does these massive entrepreneurial masterminds that he does here in LA, and I think you guys travel with them as well. So you were talking to me before the show too a little bit about how we would have never gotten to where we are today if we didn't experience this. So tell me about that journey. I want to actually know when you guys first met, and then how that, how long did that, happen in your journey together?
Yes. Okay. So we met when I was almost 21. So we've been together like almost 17 years.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So
we met
great.
in a gym.
I was going to say,
Which is
were you on
so
stage?
funny. Nope. Met in a gym. And it's so funny because this was a small town. I just moved back in with my parents after like being out on my own for a while. That was torturous. So I moved back to this tiny town that I did not want to be in. And so he meets me at like the peak of me not wanting to be in this particular town. And because there's like no new women in this town, just because I was a woman showing up, like
a very attractive woman too. I mean,
2 people came up to me right before that. So he was like, I was like, I'm in the Twilight Zone. That had not happened ever before. So poor Chris was like the third person after this guy before him was like, hey, I'm Jake. And it was just Jake written all over his arm. And so Chris came up and I was like, I don't know what's going on today, but I'm not interested. Because that had never happened. I was like, what is happening?
Right.
So poor Chris, like it took like 6 months for us to connect. But once we did, it was literally, we spent like 1 day together and it was.
So you guys were pretty young when you met. Mm-hmm. And then you go on this journey together, and I know you guys ended up getting married. I mean, your engagement ring is absolutely phenomenally gorgeous.
Thank you.
And then, I know that it was there's a whole story behind all that.
So he was in mortgage and finance at that time, even when I met him. And he was super motivated, major go-getter. He flew up through the ranks in that particular bank. It was I think it was the biggest bank actually in the world.
So he's just always been around money, and he knows how. He's just
always been good
money.
with it. Yeah, he's just always been a numbers person.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is this was about, let's see, 2 years into our marriage, but we had known each other for about 5 years at this point. And 2007, 2008 came, and what ended up happening is his company just started closing branches. Well, he was operating quite a few branches in the Midwest, and they were like, you'll still have your job we kind of knew for at least another year, but they said you have to go around and close down all of the branches. Oh. So his job for a whole year was to go and lay people off, and it was he put on weight, he was depressed, he was drinking all the time, like he became a totally different person.
Wow.
And so what ended up happening at the end is they're like, if you want to keep your job, we're going to have to move you to Jersey. And I was like, I'm not going to move to Jersey. And he was like, I don't want to move either. So we took a small severance package and we were like, what are we going to do? We were way in debt because he had been like flying up through the ranks. It happens
gradually, yeah.
Oh my God, we lost our home, we lost our cars, we were $300,000 in debt. Oh. In the Midwest, that's like $1 million.
Oh. Wow.
It's literally $1 million.
Happen, though? Like, how does that?
You think it's always going to be there.
Big
like we were
lifestyle,
young and we were stupid. So we lost everything. It was the best thing that has ever happened to us. Now, during it was horrendous because
total hell.
His identity was so wrapped up in what he was capable of earning and money and the lifestyle. And somehow I got into that as well. So it just happens. It's very easy to do.
Yeah.
And so
until you lose it, and then it changes everything.
Yeah. And so that's when we really started taking walks, which is something that we do every single day. Like we literally take an hour walk every single day to connect.
An hour. I love that. Okay.
Every single day. And we've been doing this for like 10 years. But it started then because we needed to go and move and dream and be like, what would we be doing if we could do anything? So instead of starting to look at it as this is the worst thing that ever happened, we were like, what if this was for us? Like, what if this was for us? What would we be doing? And so...
but I love that you chose to stay in it and with him. And because I know that, many, many times it causes divorce, it causes separation, it causes, if I can't have that lifestyle I'm going, there's all those things.
Oh my
God.
God.
What was it about you that, you're probably just really in love and
super in love. And also just, he was such a great partner. Like, even though we had really hard times and there was a while where I was like, whoa, I did not sign up for this human.
Right.
Like I had the other version, now I have this version. I know he's had so many times when he's felt that way about me.
Yeah.
But I realized that if it's not with this partner, you're gonna have the same problems with another partner. Like, if you can't get through these ones, if they're not, do you know what I'm saying? If they're not something where you're in an abusive relationship or you're being treated a certain way, or you're not aligned. But our visions were still fairly aligned. So I was like, if I can't get through with him, I'm not gonna be able to get through it with anyone else. And I had a couple of relationships before him where I was like, I'm the only variable that is in these relationships that is like the same, that I keep failing in this one spot. So I need to push through this particular thing of just like staying. And we've really learned how to fit, which has been super important. And that's
Very
taken years.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that you made that decision though.
Yeah.
To stay, because I think so many. I'm very guilty of this. That sometimes I think that when I get really, oh wow, that person could be the one. What do I do now?
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I can't deal with this right now. I
Yeah.
gotta go. You know. So there's many different ways in which we create our own chaos, I think. But I love that you decided to stay. You're like, I'm gonna go against all my other, what I would naturally do.
Yeah.
And look how it's paid off for you. I mean, this is just so amazing. The two of you have been through so much. So then you're walking every day. You've got your vision, which I think is also important in a relationship, that the two of you have the same goals and future together too, with how you see it.
Yeah, we
Right?
do that a lot actually. We try to come back every couple months and do like a date where we're like, what's your vision? How can I support? Where do we fit? What are we doing together? What are we doing separately? Because it's so easy for a year to go by and be like, where are we at? Like, what are we even aiming towards? Because if you don't know your target, you're never going to actually take the correct path. You're going to be all over the place. So it makes decision making so much easier when you're like, doesn't align with the vision, not going to do it. Doesn't align with the vision, not going to do it. Otherwise, as you know, like you can start getting opportunities that can be great, but they can totally deter you from where you actually want to go.
Totally.
And you can wake up and be like, oh crap, like I'm actually not as fulfilled as I think I would like to be right now. So what we ended up doing was, because we needed to bring in cash like right away, I ended up opening a small gym. So I had started training actually at an LA Fitness for like 6 months, and I just went like gung-ho, filled my schedule. I was working like a crazy woman. And one of my clients who was there was a female chiropractor, and she was like 27 and just opened her own studio. And she's like, here's the deal. Because I would always share my vision. And that's one of the most important things I can ever tell people to do. Like, share your vision with everyone, because someone is going to help you. So
I really, really do love that. Yeah.
you have to, because you're like always, it's so funny. I always picture God, universe, whatever, like every day going, why didn't they just like share it with this person I placed in their pathway? Like we're always, all our answers are around us. We just have to open our mouths. So I had said to her that I wanted to start my own gym, and she's like, here's the deal. I have an unfinished basement. I'm talking like where you can see the exposed beams
brick and the beams.
I trained down there for a year, like totally exposed. I told everybody I was renovating. I had no intention or money to renovate. And I started my studio. And, she let me do it basically just for training her for the first like couple months until I could pay her rent. And it was like the most amazing thing that ever happened. So with that, when I was doing that, something came into my space where I had a client who I realized really quickly I could train people all day, but if I didn't help them with nutrition, they weren't getting any results.
Which is what you went through.
Right, exactly. So I had a client who was doing network marketing, and I said no to her for like 6 months. Well, I watched her lose like 90 pounds in front of my eyes.
Wow.
And I was like, I would love to take credit for this, but none of my other clients are having this response. So it just opened my eyes to there could be an easier way to help people with. So I ended up trying it, changed my life. We got into network marketing. Chris said no to it for like 3 months. He was like, no way, I'm not doing this. Like, your family leaves you if you do network marketing. People hate you. Well, social media was a new way of doing network marketing, so you didn't have to bug your family.
Right.
So I started doing that, and it was like our first year, we just totally took off. We went all in. Like, I was like, here's the deal.
So you and Chris did it together all
We ended up doing it together.
How do you guys do that you do so much together?
I needed him. I needed the business side. I was doing attraction marketing, so I was putting myself out there and just living a lifestyle that I thought people would want to live. So I wasn't even talking about the product. I was just like living the lifestyle and showing it. And then I needed him though, because I needed him to be a business coach for the people that were coming in, because I knew how to attract, I knew how to build the dream, but I didn't know how to teach them in business.
Yes.
I was like, I need you. So he's like, okay, here's the deal. If you can pay for the car payment, I'll do it. And then I paid for the car payment. He goes, okay, if you can pay for then he didn't do it. He's like, if you can pay for the rent, I'll do it. So I was paying for the car and the rent, and he's like, okay, I think we have something here.
So he tested you.
Yes. It's like,
So then you had to make
bugger.
your own money enough to show him that you
Yeah.
can make money.
That's why when people are like, what if my husband doesn't support me? I'm like, welcome to my world. Just be the light and show the way until it's undeniable.
Yeah, but I mean, I love that he even said, okay, do this, do this, do that. And when you did it, you're like, okay, done. So you guys, I mean, I know that Chris puts on these incredible masterminds and you're putting on your events and stuff. So how did the idea first come about? Was it during one of your hour walks in the morning and you're like, this is what I want to do. I want to do masterminds. Or did you start off with clients? You started off with coaching clients physically.
Yes.
Did he start off with coaching clients, you know, how to make money or this?
Yeah.
Like, how did it all birth itself?
So there was a couple of reasons why, but for me, I was still getting major flare-ups of panic attacks. And I knew that I wanted to be something in the forefront. We kind of talked about that, like a host or you know, a fitness something, a Jillian Michaels, whatever that was. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to do that if I can't talk when I get in front of people, because I'd get super choked up and shaky and nervous and I'd feel dizzy. And I was like, that was also.
I mean, it makes sense because of how your upbringing.
Right.
So
Totally. So I started going to personal development events. So one of our friends was like, hey, you should try this event. And I'd never heard of anything like it before. So I was like, I will try anything at this point. So I went, the first one like totally changed my life. I went to more and I was like, I have to teach this. And that's when I really also started to realize I'm not getting results as much as results as I want to get with these women, because even though we're doing nutrition and workouts, they're not changing how they feel about themselves or their life.
Right.
So that's when I was like, I want to do events, because I was so transformed. I was like, that's it, I'm going to do an event. And we put the money down and there was no looking back. We put the money down and I literally couldn't breathe because I was like, now I have to fill it. But it's so important.
So you just kind of did it. You just kind of like decided and did it. And he was behind you the whole way.
When you've lost everything, I think if you can just like, there's nothing to lose. You know there's nothing to lose. Do you know what I mean?
I guess, yeah, when you've lived your biggest fear.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that bad to begin with.
No, it wasn't that bad. It was.
I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah, no, but it
At
was
all.
awesome.
But it was
I gotta
awesome.
be honest, we felt the burden of all of this stuff. You know, when we had everything, we felt the burden of all of this stuff that we had gotten, like being leveraged. So.
How does that feel for you, knowing that you have somebody to really weather through the tough times? I mean, you guys have been through a lot together.
Yeah, I mean, I want it for everyone, and I think that everyone can have it. We just have to get out of our own way. Like, I was in the way of that relationship so much because I didn't know how to fight or talk, like have tough conversations. I would leave. And he one time said to me, because I would just leave, I would go drive, I would go sit in the car, like I would just be like, nah, I'm out of here. Like, I must have seen it growing up. I know I saw it growing up, so that's how I dealt with everything. And he's like, we were in a fight one time, and he's like, if you leave, do not come back. He's like, because we're never getting to the other side of these fights. And I was like, oh, really? So, you know, he told me I couldn't do it, so of course I go and leave, but I pull my car to the end of the driveway. And I just stay there, and I know he's serious this time, and I'm like, gave myself enough time to go and be able to respond instead of reacting. And he's like watching the car at the end of the driveway.
That's so cute. That's so awesome.
It was like the moment of learning, like, just remove yourself.
Yeah.
And then go and talk through it. So now every single day, the walk is our opportunity to be side by side, bring something up. But some walks, it'll take me 45 minutes before I even say something that's been bothering me. But now we create a space where it's like, hey, can I say something that hurt me today that I don't even think you were aware of? And now we're both open to being like, whoa, I didn't mean that. Or maybe a heated argument comes, but on a walk, you work through it, you know? So.
Very interesting. So what would you say right now that you, as, you know, Lori Harder, are working on within yourself? Because I know that you help so many people with what they're working on, but what is sort of something that you're working on right now?
The transitions and not being attached to building an identity. Like, it's easy to write a book and feel like you need to write another book. It's easy to do an event and feel like you need to do another event. I am truly working on, if I did nothing, could I still love me? Like, if I did nothing, am I still a lovable person? Like, could I still sit with myself and just be like, this is in the beingness? So that's a journey, and it's probably going to be the journey for the rest of my life, because going from not doing anything and being homeschooled and not being seen for anything, like it wasn't a thing to go to college or be anything. Like I was
Right.
just going to go and talk about the Bible to people for the rest of my life. Like that was what I was.
That's how you were born and raised, and yeah.
That was what you should be doing. So for me, I didn't even have a vision of something else. Like it was just,
You had a massive self-identity shift.
oh man. And I just watch them always, like I watch them come up always in your brain. So no matter how much work you do, there's always some more that you don't even realize is there, which is so awesome. Otherwise, we'd be so bored. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, I could sit here for hours and talk to you, but I would just want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank
and
you for
I'd love
being
to have
an
Chris
amazing
on the show.
host. He would
thank
love it.
you. Let's have him on.
Yes,
'Cause then
absolutely.
or have you both on together,
Yeah.
or either way, we could do both.
Either way.
So how's
So
that?
fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love that.
Yeah.
All right. So if you could just tell everybody where we can learn more about you and where we can look you up on
Awesome.
social media.
You can go to loriharder.com. You can go to atribecalledbliss.com if you want to look at the book. Otherwise, the podcast is earnyourhappy.com.
I love it. All right, thank you so much for an amazing
you.
episode of Life Masters. And if you want to binge watch all of the episodes, go to lifemasterstv.com and make sure you check out evertalktv.com. It's on Apple TV, it's on Roku, it's on iTunes. We are all over the place. Please subscribe to our podcast, Life Masters Podcast, and we will see you next time. Yay!
Awesome.
That was good.
You're such a great host.
Thank you.
Oh my God, it was
Thank
so
you.
easy. Like, I was like, oh, this is so easy. I am blabbing. All right.
No, I love it. I love it.
Good. Awesome.
It's just a casual conversation,
Yeah,
and whatever
so
you
fun.
say, I like to go with what you say, so
Yeah.
we can dig, you know.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I should have you on the podcast because I would love to talk about the journey from TV host to what people that'd be so much fun.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so good though.
I'd love
We need to hear
you
people
guys.
need to
I
hear
would
that.
love it. Yeah.
They like literally really need to hear that.
Okay.
Just about all journeys because we coach entrepreneurs who are all like doing what they love, but they don't realize it's just another shit sandwich that you it really is, but at least you get to decide what you want to do and follow your intuition and like use your gifts however you want and script what you want, like in your life in general or in your show
All
or
right, let me take a picture.
yes, please.
Right here.
I triple checked and Alex checked.
2, 3, 2. I'm gonna come one back here.
Yeah, how many people want it?
3, 2. Maybe it's 2 pieces.
Oh,
All right.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so
You
much.
enjoyed it.
Oh, I
Yes.
loved it.
So we'll be in touch.
you,
And I'll,
Mario.
Do you wire me? Where is it?
so happy.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Part.
I went for lunch with Michelle the other day.
She's awesome.
I know, isn't she?
Where did you meet her? I forgot. Where did you meet her?
Here.
Oh, cool.
Well, I
Was it an
hunted down
interview or
Jay-
what?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I hunted down Jason Goldberg.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so that's a friend of hers.
Okay.
And he does coaching and stuff too. Different way though. Like he does that, and then he said, "Oh, you have to have Michelle Sorrow, who I knew who she was, because she and I have had so many mutual friends through the years."
Yeah.
So I've heard her name and this and that. And finally, I thought so. I just reached out to her. Oh no, Jason did.